ABC 57 Holiday Heroes shining a spotlight on the people and the charities going out of their ways to help others amid the pandemic.
Yeah, we begin with the Salvation Army tonight, a religious group, of course, dedicated to doing the most good, as they say. But did you know how all the red kettles and bell ringers first came to be? Well, if not, here's a little history for you.
I am glad you are enjoying yourself. The Salvationist is the friend of happiness. Making heaven on earth is our business.
The voice of General William Booth way back in 1865 when the London street preacher founded the Salvation Army in the British capital's notorious East End slums, issuing a call to action for the more fortunate members of polite society as they celebrated the festive holiday season.
So I am pleased that you are pleased. But amidst all your joys, don't forget the sons and daughters of misery.
William Booth was a Methodist lay preacher in the East End of London. Which is an area that had a lot of poverty, a lot of recent immigrants, drunkards, prostitutes, orphans, and this type of thing. So William Booth began to go out and preach in those communities, kind of your typical soapbox preacher. And he realized that it's hard to say there's a loving God out there when people are hungry and cold. So the concept came up of soup, soap, and salvation.
But how did soup, soap, and salvation in the 1800s turn into the modern Salvation Army we see in 2021, with those ubiquitous bell ringers out for the annual Holiday Kettle campaign? Do you happen to know the story of the red kettles from the Salvation Army, how that started?
No, I don't. All I know is that they're doing it for charity, and it's a good cause.
It turns out the kettle collection started accidentally in San Francisco, California in 1891. A local Salvation Army captain named Joseph Mcphee publicly promised to feed 1,000 destitute people near Fisherman's Wharf that year. To raise the money needed, Mcphee found an old lobster pot and came up with the slogan, "Keep the pot boiling." Then he set up on the waterfront.
And began to collect money to help that year, and he was able to meet his goal in San Francisco.
Okay, that explains how the kettles came to be, but what about those constantly ringing brass bells? Any idea why they're always ringing the bells?
Get your attention as you leave the store.
She is exactly right. The bell tradition began in 1900 with a teenage New York City volunteer named Amelia Kunkel. She was apparently frustrated so many bankers on Wall Street would walk by ignoring her. So Amelia went to a nearby Woolworth's department store and bought a small brass bell for 10 cents, and the rest is history.
There was a girl in New York who was 16 years old, and that's when she started ringing the bell, and that became the bell tradition. And now the Red Kettle Program, which is what we call it, it has a strong tradition here in the United States, but in the world, I think it's probably the original crowdfunding program out there.
The bells and kettles are now helping crowdfund the less fortunate in 131 different countries, including 30 million Americans every year, with 1.8 million Salvation Army members joining in around the globe.
Welcome.
One of them is Ephraim Ndegwa.
I love ringing the bell because I am happy, and the people who hear the bell ringing and the whistling are happy as well.
The 78-year-old bell ringer, originally from Kenya, spends about 8 hours a day whistling, dancing, and collecting donations in Mishawaka as the temperatures drop down near freezing. Does ringing the bell, dancing, and talking to people keep you warm?
Oh, definitely yes. If I don't ring the bell, singing and dancing, I will feel cold. But when I dance and jump, I energize myself.
But these days, it's not just coins and folded up dollar bills going into those famous red kettles. Nowadays, you can even use your cell phone with Google Pay or Apple Pay, or you can scan this QR code to pay online. Captain John Gantner, the Salvation Army's senior officer and pastor at the Kroc Center in South Bend, confirms those new innovations were brought on by the many impacts of the coronavirus pandemic.
The Salvation Army is stepping into the future, and we're doing a lot of digital online things. So Apple Pay, Google Pay, all these different things are acceptable. You're able to go online. We even have virtual red kettles. Well, we've been very challenged. It seems like a lot of forces are going against this model working. There's a change shortage. There's people worried about being out in public, and our volunteers are definitely down. Our digital donating online has upticked, but we're very challenged. We're very short. I know in South Bend we're short.
But despite all the challenges these days, the South Bend Salvation Army unit is focused on raising $200,000 locally through the Kettle campaign by this Christmas.
The one thing that a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the money that we raise during the Christmas season goes to help our units throughout the entire year, to provide those basic services to make sure that people don't fall through the social net. And so we're going to make sure that nobody goes hungry, that nobody's cold, and that nobody is out there lonely and stuff. And we're just going to come alongside people, again, as the American people enable us to do in such an amazing way. But this money serves us all year round. It's not just spent and used at Christmas, although we do a ton of things with the Christmas programs and presents and food and Christmas dinners and those type of things. But this actually sustains us throughout the year.